So 1504. A lot of you will probably still remember how we got to our new numbering system. And just a quick reminder, because we were jumping from Mahara 1.10 to Mahara 1504, and that is not a totally huge jump in features and complete redesign of Mahara, but rather we switched to a new numbering system. So now, instead of just counting up numbers for our versions, we switched to a date-based system so that you'll see more clearly and more easily what version of Mahara you actually use. And so in the case of 1504, that means that it's the year 2015 and the month of April when we release Mahara. So the next version will come in 6 months' time, which will be then 15.10 or 1510 for 2015 and October. And so there is a whole lot of new functionality in this new version of Mahara. So I'll only highlight some of them to give you a little taste of what you can expect once you have it installed on a test server, and then also once you're ready for upgrading your production server, what your students and faculty can see. Oops, sorry. So one of the first things that has been asked for a very long time is to make it easier to copy a page or copy a collection. So what we've implemented is this copy button, which you can see on any page that you have the permission to copy. So it will appear on your own pages, but it will also appear on other people's pages that they have shared with you where copying is allowed. And so if you have a collection, then you still only have one copy button, but you'll get a pop-up window which asks you whether you just want to copy that particular page that you're currently on, or whether you want to copy the entire collection. So that'll hopefully make it much, much easier for people to immediately see when they can copy something into their portfolio, instead of you having to give them 5 steps and say, go to portfolio, click copy a page button, find the page, make sure that you copy the page or the collection that you want, and then go through the rest of those steps. So what you can do instead is you give them the URL to the page or collection that you want them to copy, and then they simply click the copy button. So I think it reduces things by a good number of steps. And in Adelaide, when I presented on the new features of Mahara just a couple of weeks ago, that was one of the features that the audience loved most and was looking forward most. So we are really excited to have that in Mahara now, because yes, Ali, it is very easy to now copy templates, and will make your life as support people also easier, because you simply don't have to explain so much or create a lot of documentation around something that should be very simple. We also have, we also make it easier to see feedback that has been placed on individual artifacts or evidence that you put into a page, and that feature is thanks to New York Institute of Technology. Because what you'll see here is when you are on a regular blog where you allow comments and feedback, you'll first see an add comment link at the bottom right, at the bottom of the blog, and you also see comments, which is also a link, and the number of comments that have already been left. And when you click that link, the actual comments will fold out directly on the page, so that you don't have to go to another page to view the comments, but you can view them directly here. Again, making it easier to interact with what has already been said for that evidence, and just see things directly on the page. When you click the Add Comment button, you are currently still taken to the actual details page where you can then leave your feedback. So we haven't made any changes there yet. because it got a little bit complicated with more and more pop-ups on the page. So we left that for the time being, and just want to try the functionality as it is right now to show the comments directly on feedback. And if you do not see one or both of those links, so the add comments or the comments link, then that means that the author of the portfolio has not allowed you to leave comments, or has comments entirely turned off. So it does work with the comments permissions. And another one that has been long awaited is the possibility that you can now select internal images from Mahara more easily in text boxes, in notes, and in journals. And that is thanks to Mike Kelly at the University of Arts London. So what you see here is the new screen when you click on the little image icon in your text editor anywhere in Mahara. And you'll first at the top see an image URL, so you can continue to put in a URL from an external image that you found online that you just want to link to. Or alternatively, you can simply select an image that you either have already uploaded to Mahara, or if you haven't uploaded it yet, you can upload it directly from the screen here. And the URL to that image, so the internal Mahara URL, will be placed into the image URL so that you don't have to do that yourself, do a lot of copying and pasting, and then the image not really being embedded properly, or other people won't be able to see it. So all those issues should really be resolved right now. Again, making it easier to work with what is in your portfolio. And yes, at the bottom there, it's slightly cut off. You can also select an image that you have already uploaded, like anywhere in Mahara when you want to embed an image into a regular block. And we also have drag and drop on mobile. So Roger, that is something for you to try out now that that you're watching here on a mobile device. It looks much nicer now when you go into the edit screen, that you can actually drag and drop blocks. So instead of having to click a tiny radio button and then another button for saying where you want to put a block, all you need to do, like on a desktop computer or on a laptop, just drag and drop the blocks into the page, and then they'll be available for you. And not a new feature, but just a quick question for you. If you are interested in mobile and using a native app for Mahara, please do consider contacting Scott Allen. He's a student from Victoria University, Wellington, who is currently investigating the usability and new functionality for Mahara Droid, which is an Android application for Mahara. And he wants to know how people are currently using it, what is missing in there, to get a better sense of what we should be offering for Mahara Droid in the future. Mahara Droid has recently been updated to include newer functionality that has already existed for quite some time but hasn't made it out of the beta stage. And it has also been updated to work with newer version of Android so that you can actually install it on an Android for a mobile device. So if you are interested in mobile apps in general, you don't necessarily have to be an Android user. So if you say, well, I want a mobile app for iOS as well, and you want to give your opinion, want to let us know what you would like to see of an app of Mahara, then please contact Scott so he can send you his questionnaire, or even have a online conversation about what you think should be in a mobile app, so that he has more research data to evaluate and then see what he can implement, because he is currently doing his industry project in an engineering course with us at Catalyst, and so he has a lot of research to complete as part of that course, which makes it really nice because he can go really into the depth of things. But also the purpose of the project is to come up with a prototype, or depending on how much functionality should be in there, potentially even already a completely functional product and an update to it. Keith, quick question in regards to your question: is Portfolio app and iOS comparable to Mahara Droid, or do they have different functionality? The functionality is pretty complementary these days because Portfolio app has just been updated and is now called Experience app. I have not seen it in action myself, but once I'm finished talking, I'll see that I find the page where they talked about the functionality that Bright Cookie wanted to implement for Experience app, so that you can take a look there. And they did certainly upgrade the functionality in general to put more features in that were also in Mahara Droid, and then some others as well. Of course, being an iOS device means that it is not possible to upload as many different file types as you can do on Mahara Droid, because you're pretty much limited to images and videos, whereas on Mahara Droid you can share pretty much anything that you can share on your Android device. But that is not a limitation kind of the app itself, but really just iOS. Okay, so if you want to help making Mahara better on mobile, in particular in regards to a native app, please get in touch with Scott, or you're also welcome to get in touch with me, and I'll forward your contact details to him then. Okay, but now let's go on to some more new features of Mahara. Displaying of pages in a group, thanks to Switch, which is an organization that supports Swiss universities and has a central Mahara instance in Switzerland that universities can access. We have a number of new functionalities for the group homepage. Because in the past you could only see pages sorted alphabetically, now you can sort them according to when they have been updated last. And you can also decide whether you only want to display pages shared by members of the group or by anybody. And that's a really cool feature, because if you set up a group for one cohort, you put everyone in, and then the students share their portfolio, and they don't put an end date to it, all these portfolios will still show in the next semester and the next semester and so on. But the students aren't actually in the group, or aren't in the class anymore, and new students' portfolios don't really show up because they are just way at the bottom. So what we did instead was to make it so that when students leave the group or are removed from a group, that the administrator of the group can also decide whether those portfolios should not be displayed on the group homepage. The portfolios are still accessible because you can always still go to the Shared with Me page in your portfolio in order to see them. However, they won't clutter the group homepage screen, which is usually for the members of the group. And then you can also do the exact same thing for collections. And what you will also see is by pages shared on with the group, you'll also have the date when it was last updated displayed, so that you can see very easily whether you've already looked at it or not. And again, those were alphabetical. Another feature coming out of Europe from the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology by Tobias Teusch is that CSV import now also recognizes a semicolon instead of a comma as a separator without prompting you to change your CSV file, because apparently that is the default in some spreadsheeting software, making it easier again for people just also to upload a CSV file and work with it instead of having to fiddle with the separator, which may not really be easy to see. Oh, somebody is moving my slides, so I'll just try to move on. And we have another seemingly small feature, but it is actually the start of a bigger feature for SmartEvidence. Let me just briefly give you a link to what SmartEvidence is, because Shane Nüssler and I talk about that in a presentation. And here we've implemented one of the first things, namely annotations. Because SmartEvidence is a way to make the building of portfolios that need to be standard compliant easier. And because it's a huge functionality, we started with one feature that can stand alone on its own and can already be implemented. And so this is the annotations feature. So the idea behind the annotation is that you can put an annotation onto a page, and it is pretty much a reflection of what you can see on the page itself. And people can also leave feedback on that annotation, but once feedback has been left, you are not able to make changes to your annotation anymore. Making it so that the feedback still goes to what you have said earlier. And it ties in nicely with SmartEvidence, because in the future the idea is that you'll also have a number of other fields on the screen when you create an annotation, so that you can then choose the competency standard that it belongs to automatically, and that it then is all displayed also on a matrix, of which you can see a screenshot in the presentation that I just linked to in the chat. That presentation is also recorded, and the recording is already available, so that'll hopefully be easier to kind of get an idea more of what SmartEvidence is. What you also see on the page here, under by the way, is that we switched a lot of our checkboxes to be those toggles or switch boxes, making them more visually present and hopefully also easier for people to click on mobile devices, and also easier to see what needs to be done and where things are at, instead of just having the checkboxes. So if you have any feedback on those as well, please let us know how they work. We decided to only show one value and not on and off both, because that is oftentimes confusing. And all you need to do really is click anywhere on that green field to toggle between the two states that are there and work with them. Okay, notification improvements. That's actually heaps of changes just on one screen. As you can see, we've had iCampus 21 with Jack Meyer, Tobias Teut from Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, and also our Catalyst Open Source Academy students working on that to implement a number of features. So the first one is that you can now also compose a message directly from your inbox. You can also see any unread messages first. So anything that you have not yet read in your inbox that is bolded, you'll see before any of the other messages. So in this case, a message from 2012 shows up before the rest of them because I haven't looked at it yet. And then we also have reply to buttons directly in the inbox when you open the message, so that you are not led to a different screen first in order to be able to reply to them, but you can choose whether you want to reply to the sender or to everybody who has received the message and the sender, making it easier and more like a regular email program. And yes, Sam, Paula has a friend. And one thing that you don't really see so much on the front end, but that I wanted to briefly mention, is our automated testing suite. We use Behat for that, and that is automated functional testing. That means that we write test cases, and they are then run automatically and tell us whether the test case still works or whether it fails and whether we need to make a change. So that's really great for regression testing. So when we put new functionality into Mahara and then always need to go through a lot of different things to test whether it breaks anything. Because when a computer goes through it, the computer can go through it multiple times without complaining, whereas as you know, when you test something for the 5th time, you kind of do get tired and might miss something, and so the automated testing will help us. And I'm sure we will provide more, and there is already quite a lot of information on automated testing and how to write a test and how to use the test suite on your own servers on the wiki, but we will provide some more information because that can also be a way for you to get involved, because writing those tests is actually not that difficult. They all follow a very set scenario, and you can use just natural language. You don't even have to worry about any coding terms or so. And so that makes it really interesting also for non-developers to get involved in. And another really big thing that we implemented with over 170,000 lines of code was web services. That is the first step into the direction of better integration for Mahara with other systems, because while we did have web services already as a plugin in the past, we now have it directly within Mahara, making it a component of core Mahara, and therefore easier for people to work with it, to integrate with other systems. And currently we have the entire web services package in there, and connectors and settings. But with time, our plan is to make it easier for you to use those web services so that you don't have to go through so many steps in order to set them up. But it's already a very good first step, and it's also a really important step into the direction of removing Mnet and switching it to a more modern protocol. But we haven't had the time to implement that yet. And of course, there is much more to come. And you can see all the new features in the user manual at manual.mahara.org. Right now, you still have to go to the actual version of 15.04. And because we haven't loaded it on the homepage yet. However, if you go to the index, so this page here, and look at new in Mahara 15.04, you see a number of, you see all the features on the front end that are new or sometimes receive slight changes. I still have to document, I think 2 or 3, and update the blog screenshots to account for the fact that we made a change to the retractable function and how it is being displayed. But really the majority of the functionality is now documented so that you can take a look there and look into the user manual to really see the new things that you have read about in the release notes, where you can find them and how you can work with them. And of course, now that Mahara 15.04 is out of the door, we are on to Mahara 15.10, which is our October release. So no rest for the wicked there. And there is still time to propose new features if you want to see something new in 15.10. Feature freeze is in July, so if you have developers working on something, please ensure that they put everything through before then so that we can take it into consideration for 15.10. There'll be huge changes in 15.10, especially on the front end, because we are moving to using Bootstrap as our CSS framework, so for the style sheets and how we set up the pages. And that'll mean that again, it'll look more modern. We'll have some already through using Bootstrap a number of changes in Mahara itself, which make it easier to use again. But of course, we are also looking into making many more changes to improve the usability, to add new functionality, and yeah, again, to bring to take Mahara one step further and give you a new version that you'll hopefully be excited about as well. Okay, so that's it from me. Bas, when the SmartEvidence feature, that's a very good question because it depends quite a bit on funding. It is a huge feature. And if you're interested in helping develop it, either by contributing functionality or by sponsoring part of it, that would be very much appreciated. We started the development work together with the University of Canberra. I forgot to mention that on the slide. And we will make more information about it available as well. The presentation that Shane and I did in Adelaide was just the start of it. But yes, if you want more information, I'll very happily connect you with Shane and then see that we get more things out to the community as well, so that you'll have a better understanding of what SmartEvidence means and how we can go further about it.